$300,000 to raise a kid. Is parenting now a luxury in America? They say the American dream was simple. Go to school, get a job, start a family, raise your kids, live a good life. But somewhere along the way, something changed. Because today, right now, it costs over $300,000 to raise a single child in America. Not for college, not for luxury, just to get them to 18. And suddenly, a question that used to sound ridiculous now feels very real. Is raising kids becoming a luxury? Let that sink in. $300,000. That's not a house. That's not retirement. That's not generational wealth. That's just parenting. And here's where it gets even more shocking. That number has skyrocketed nearly 30% in just a few years. That's based on research. Not decades, years. So if you feel like life is getting more expensive, you're not imagining it. Now think about this. The average annual cost, around $16,800 per child. Parents. But in those early years, when diapers, daycare, and sleepless nights take over, it jumps to nearly, guess what? $30,000 a year. And this is research information. That's like paying rent twice, yes. So today we're diving deep, not just into the numbers, but into the reality behind them. Because this isn't just about money. This is about the future of families. Yeah, the future of families. The shrinking middle class. The emotional costs of parenting. And a society quietly asking, can we even afford children anymore? So let's look at the shocking shift. From normal to luxury. There was a time, you see, not too long ago when having kids wasn't a financial debate nor burden. It was just like life. But today, nearly 70% of Americans say raising children is too expensive. That's not a minority. That's the majority. And here's what's happening beneath the surface. The middle class, start there. The group that historically carried family life is shrinking. You see, back in 1971, about 61% of Americans were middle class. Today, that number is closer to 51%. And with it, stability is shrinking too. Because raising kids was never meant to be easy, but it was supposed to be possible. Where is all the money going, you may ask? Let's break it down. Because $300,000 doesn't just disappear. It goes somewhere. And the biggest culprit, guess what? First one, childcare. Daycare alone can cost over $17,000 per year on average, according to research again. In some states, over $20,000 plus, and that's not childcare. That's a second mortgage. And here's the problem. You can't just skip it. Parents have to work. So they pay or they sacrifice income. Either way, they lose. Second one, number two, is housing. Kids don't just need space, they demand more of it. A bigger apartment, a safer neighborhood, yes, better schools, and suddenly your rent or mortgage isn't just about you anymore. It's about opportunity. And the third one, food, healthcare, transportation, it's the everyday costs that quietly stacks up. Groceries rising every year. And of course, health insurance, premiums, gas, school supplies, clothes, none of them seem overwhelming alone. But together, they create a financial avalanche. So let's look at the real question. Is parenthood still a choice or a privilege? This is where the conversation gets uncomfortable. Because historically, having children wasn't tied to wealth. But today, it increasingly is. Think about it. If raising one child costs $300,000, what about two? Three? You're now looking at nearly $1 million. So what happens? People delay having kids, or they don't have them at all. And we're already seeing it because birth rates in America are dropping. Not because people don't want kids, but because they feel like they can't afford them. The emotional cost, no one talks about that. Money is one thing, but the emotional weight, that's something else entirely. Parents today aren't just raising kids. They're managing financial anxiety. There's work-life imbalance, constant pressure to do it right. And here's the hidden truth. The more expensive parenting becomes, the more pressure parents feel to justify it. To be perfect, of course. So to provide everything, to never fall short, it's very difficult. Because when something costs that much, failure feels even more expensive. Why this is happening? So what changed? Why is parenting becoming so expensive? One, inflation, but not just inflation. Yes, prices are rising, but childcare costs have outpaced inflation entirely. That's according to the New York Post, by the way. Meaning even when wages go up, they're not keeping up. Stagnant wages. That's the next thing. While cost soars, income hasn't kept pace. So families are stretched thinner than ever. And of course, the modern standard of parenting today's parenting expectations are higher than ever. Better schools, more activities, healthier food, safer environments, and all of that costs, my friends, money. Is this sustainable? Here's the bigger question. What happens to a society when fewer people can afford to have children? What happens? You get aging populations, labor shortages, economic slowdowns, because kids aren't just a personal choice. They are the future workforce, of course. The future economy too. The future everything. And this is the harsh reality. Let's be honest. For many people, parenthood now requires financial planning, career stability, dual incomes. Yes, that's why people have to work so many jobs sometimes. And sometimes even sacrificing dreams just to make it work. And for others, it feels out of reach entirely. But here's the twist. Despite everything, people are still choosing to have kids. That's great. Why? Because parenting isn't just a financial decision. It's emotional. It's human. It's legacy. You can't put a price tag on a child's first words, their laughter, their growth. And maybe that's why even in the face of $300,000, people still say yes. Let's look at our final thought about this. So is raising kids a luxury now? The answer isn't simple, because for some, it already is. For others, it's a sacrifice they're willing to make. But one thing is clear. You know what it is? The cost of raising a child in America isn't just rising. It's redefining what family even means. And maybe the real question isn't, can we afford kids? But rather, what kind of world are we building if fewer people can? If this made you think differently about parenting, money, or the future, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because this conversation, it's only just beginning.